webinar. I apologize for the delay in getting started. We're having some problems on the technical side getting it organized here. So my name is Bill Allen. I'm eView Technology. We're a longtime HP partner providing products which add IBM systems to HP's products. Yeah, that's me. Today's speakers are Nick Lee, the Product Marketing Manager with HP Software, and Inge Damare of the R&D team, also with HP Software. So we've got two excellent speakers with us today. I know from talking with them that they would appreciate any questions you have, so please feel free to enter those into your panel there. This housekeeping issues, this is a live session. It is being recorded, and it will be available soon to all Vivid members. As I mentioned, the questions, please type those in the questions pane on your webinar. Should be your upper right-hand part of your screen, and then we will input or read those questions to the speakers at several times or several breaks during the presentation. Okay, and you see the webinar control panel, so you can toggle that between full screen and window mode during the presentation for entering those questions. With that, I will turn it over to Nick Lee, who will be our first speaker today.
Inga, Nick just lost audio. Are you able to start?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, technical problems continue. We apologize, folks.
Okay, so on behalf of Nick and myself, welcome to our webinar as well. We'll use this time to answer your questions about the product for those of you who are familiar with it. For those of you who are new to it, welcome, and we hope you enjoy our session.
I'm back.
Okay. Nick is back. Okay.
Nick's back.
I'm back. Well, minus all the technical difficulties, I hopefully will have a really good session for you guys this morning. You know, my name's Nick Lee. Some of you know me, and you know, we're here to present, you know, HP's really business service management tool called Storage Essentials. But really, we're going to take you through a quick overview of the product, going to give you some insight into the market, and as Inga said, you know, we welcome your participation, and you know, hopefully we'll get through this pretty quickly. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. All right, so, you know, one of the things I want to talk about here is, you know, with every client that we see, you know, everyone says they have some type of solution, that they wish they had a solution that can tell them, you know, what systems they have and where they have them and when they're going to run out, and, you know, when they should be planning for either capacity limitations or availability for resources. You know, we've seen an influx of, you know, customers saying, hey, we want to deploy a cloud, we want to, you know, increase our footprint of virtual and machines, and, you know, while cloud and virtual offer, you know, tremendous incentives for efficiency and lowering operating expenses, they also introduce their own levels of complexity. You know, when we talk to decision makers these days, you know, they want to consider, you know, have they standardized platforms across their organization? Is the hardware vendor supporting all their physical storage as well as their virtual environment? You know, and today, you know, we're going to discuss storage resource management. We're also going to discuss it in the capabilities of really, and the title of the session today is Unlocking the Power of Storage Optimization. It's really the ability to see everything, the ability to visualize all your resources and apply it to your business requirements. Next slide, please. Yeah. If we look at the world we're in today, everywhere we turn, we're inundated with information. Ideas, availability across, you know, business applications. Take a look at what we see with social media. You know, it's just exploding. Our world is data rich, as the title says, but, you know, growth in application data, business documents, and, you know, documents make up a significant portion of what is stored around the world. with an increasing proportion committed to fixed storage for compliance reasons. We also understand that email swells as the volume of messages rises, and that's not going away. Nevertheless, sound, cloud, and virtualization really offer performance and management efficiencies. We see it every day. We see customers who are adding multiple virtual machines in excess of 10% or 20% or 40% of their infrastructure today, and some even more. Next slide, please.
Hey, Nick. Let me add a
Yes.
quick comment here. From experience working with customers about 3 to 4 years ago, those customers were in the range of the terabytes that you had on the previous slide. When I work with these customers again today, we're all hearing about big data. Big data is not just a marketing hype anymore. It is actually real. So those customers now are managing or are challenged to manage about a petabyte of data. So how can they do that efficiently? With different device management tools, how can we help them? How can we enable them to do that all from a central management tool?
Yeah, thank you very much, Inga. When we think about the rate of storage growth and the rate at which customers are actually buying storage, it provides tremendous opportunity for not only HP but for other vendors, but it puts tremendous burden on budget cycles and financials, whether it's a complete transformation of a market that customers are in, or whether they're looking to gain efficiencies or reduce risk. It's a sizable market, and we understand from some customers that growth can exceed the 6% that's shown here on the board, but we see customers who are doubling in capacity every 6 months or every 12 months or every 18 months. And is it efficient? And that's what we're going to help you with today, is unlock the power of storage optimization. Next slide, please. When we think about customers, our customers come to us and say we don't have visibility into all of our resources. We don't have the ability to forecast out and provide policy management across our infrastructure. And customers are looking for ways to improve service delivery. They're looking for ways to increase speed of application delivery. At the same time, improve customer satisfaction. Those customers can be internal, or they can be external customers that are revenue generating. But really, customers are looking for ways to avoid negative business consequences, whether it's risk, whether it's P&Ls, and accessing new markets, or the time that it takes to actually create new applications and services. Next slide, please. Yep. We did a survey a couple of, about 8 months ago, and whether it's our survey or what we see across the Gartner survey from 2013, or even an enterprise systems group study that was done in 2013, customers are looking for ways to address those challenges that we talked about: multiple vendors, multiple products, multiple platforms, how to deal with the complexities of innovation. Innovation can increase the speed of delivery, and innovation can increase efficiencies, but innovation can also add that level of complexity we talked about a little bit. But really, helping customers address some of their just significant business needs when it comes to capacity requirements, utilization, and really, if we think about it, with innovation we can see performance and flexibility, but it's no less complex. Next slide, please. When we look at today's customers, the challenges I've talked about here, whether it's visibility or complexity, on top of that, we're looking at ways that customers are trying to reduce the amount of time that it takes to manage the storage infrastructure or manage assets and resources, understand connectivity between applications and hosts and SAN and network attached storage and tape and backup environments. It's really, how efficient can you be if you have 30 different tools? And how efficient can your staff be if the data is inconsistent across multiple platforms? And that's really how we're looking at this discussion today, is unlocking the power of storage optimization really kind of takes into account how we can help customers meet those value drivers, helping them improve service performance, improve staff efficiency with fewer tools, and it's not all about capacity. It comes down to how efficient are you actually running your entire storage infrastructure. Next, please. So, ideally, when we talk to the marketplace and when we talk to customers, when we talk to prospects, who are looking for ways to optimize their storage infrastructure, these are the things that they're telling us. We'd like to have a single solution. We'd like to have the flexibility in how we deploy, for many reasons. They want to be able to quickly isolate, elements in their environment for troubleshooting, for compliance, for throughput, maintenance and change windows. On top of that, they want to make sure they're getting the analysis they need. Are they meeting their own service objectives? Are they meeting customer objectives? And are they investing and planning appropriately? Improving availability and improving staff efficiency are really keys to really understanding the complexity that their environment has. And ideally, this is where they'd like to be. Next slide, please. The reality is, addressing those challenges, they want to have a tool or they want to have a solution across their infrastructure that improves capacity planning at the application layer, the host, or the fabric layer, or even the array layer. They want to reduce operating costs. If it takes 40 different people to run a small SAN, or if it takes 40 people to run 40 different products, is that efficient? And then when they take a look at their existing resources, can they get more horsepower out of the existing assets that they own today? If a customer has $10 million in investment in storage, but they're only utilizing 50% of it, do they necessarily need to buy more storage? Can we get more horsepower? Actually, can we use the storage resources efficiently that we have today? Are the questions that customers are asking, and that's really where they want to be. They want to be maintaining their business. They want to be profitable business. They want to reduce the negative consequences of not having the right solutions in place to deliver their applications to their customers. And then in the end, really the ability to accurately predict when they're going to have new applications coming online, predict when they need to make changes in their environment, analyzing the information that they get out of their infrastructure to optimize existing resources with consistent, high-performing reports. And so this is the ideal situation that customers are coming to us with, saying, these are the things that we need. You take a look at our environment. How can you help us? Next slide, please. Enter HP storage resource management. And with HP, and we take a look at unlocking the power of storage optimization, it's really, we want to provide customers the ability to know what they have in their environment. We want to make sure that they understand that it doesn't take multiple tools to gather capacity and utilization information across physical assets, virtual machines, and cloud. At the same time, understanding the availability of their resources to the next step, providing path awareness, complete element awareness and device management across that whole entire storage path. So if we look at the 4-layer architecture of applications or databases through hosts, through fabrics, down to the array layer, whether it's block storage or file structured storage, the ability to understand if we pull something out or we introduce something in the environment, how it affects other pieces of the environment. So the ability to strategize investments becomes even more of a priority, but streamlines the efficiency of that environment. Next slide, please. On top of the visibility that we give, we want to provide customers and people who are looking for storage optimization. On top of the visibility, we want to give them centralized management. Next slide, please.
Hey, Nick, excuse me. We have several questions that have come in. Okay to take those now?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. The first question is, you talked about path dependencies. What about real-time events? Can you actually show impact of those? And what about middle-of-the-night events?
So let me
you want to take that?
Yeah, let me answer that. Let me give you a live example. When I was at a customer site about 5 6 years ago, I was there to look after the Storage Essential software. What we saw is the EVA controllers were rebooting, so the array was offline and the customer's database went offline. We traced the events that had happened overnight, and we saw that an SFP on the switch was broken, which caused the controller cache to fill, and that was the root cause to the controller actually rebooting. So when you think of Storage Essentials as a central management tool, we capture the events not just from the storage switches, but also from the array at the different levels, the disk, the I/O module, the shelf, all that is viewable in one event manager. So yeah, we capture all of them. We position ourselves as a historical monitoring tool, so we have that sequence of events, what happened over the past, however long you want to look at it. In terms of real-time events, we can forward them to our tool, and then we do some additional true real-time events. We call ourselves a near real-time monitoring tool. The true real-time events then are coming from device managers, from anything where you sit actually in front of the console to troubleshoot. But we do have the advantage to get that full picture into one tool. That is very important, I think. Good question.
Excellent.
Yeah, great question.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Inge. We have another question I'd like to pass on. We have multiple sites with various security rights. Is there a central management console to set policy and to see all the resources at any given time? Inge, you want that one as well, or?
Yes, so when it comes to a global area, we see that a lot more customers today, since the last 1-2 years, are moving into a global deployment. That means they're adding the remote sites to be monitored as well from a central management console. Of course, we have everything in the product that is Active Directory-based, login security. We have role-based security. That means anybody who logs in from any location can have rights that are specific to what he's allowed to do in the product and what he's allowed to see in the product as well. So those policies define when the user logs in, what part of the tool he's able to control and what part of the data center and geographical location he's able to see as well. Yeah, so all of that is available with the product also.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Turn it back to you, Nick.
Great, thanks, Alan. Thanks, Inge. That was great because that was a good transition into what I was showing on the screen. So, on top of the ability to provide visibility into all assets, whether it's SAN, NAS, or tape, or backup, the ability to improve staff efficiency comes in a couple different ways too. We can centralize management with a centralized web interface that allows complete visibility into the entire infrastructure from a single dashboard view. And Inge talked about a couple of things, from quickly identifying incidents to resolving them, but the ability to set policy, to regulate events, to manage events, forecasting and modeling across a diverse environment, diverse being multiple platforms, multiple vendors' products, and in the end, really kind of reducing operations costs, because here's one tool that was meant to do this right out of the box, to manage heterogeneous storage, provide visibility, and provide the ability to actually set capacity and utilization thresholds. So, and now we're being proactive in how we manage storage. So, next slide, please. So here we have, we've talked about, what the challenges were in the market. We've talked about what customers are telling us are their key objectives, and we think about what, we talked about from where customers would like to be, where we come in with a solution, what we can do for them, and providing visibility of centralized management and policy administration. But here we talk about our product, and HP Storage Essentials has been around for a good 9-10 years now, and it was designed as a modular project. HP continues to invest money in this product. We've seen significant changes in how we actually build solutions for customers, and as Inge gets into the use cases a little further on, we want to talk about the modular capabilities of this product, and that we provide in storage Essentials the ability to see everything, the ability to discover all the storage elements down to file levels across ports on a switch, across a diversity of hosts, and being able to actually see capacity at the application layer and providing proactive policy making and administration. And as you see at the bottom of the slide there, or the bottom of the screen, one of the most significant values of HP Storage Essentials is that it also integrates into the broader HP software portfolio, provided, whether you want to reduce the, likelihood of errors with automated tasks, or if you want to increase the visibility of events that are happening from an application storage perspective, or if you want to track change, when was the last change made to a SAN environment, or even populate storage configuration information into a CMDB or a UCMDB for that matter. Storage Essentials really does fall into line with all the other software tools in the portfolio, and we'll talk about other integrations as we move through the presentation. But Storage Essentials is a real differentiator in the marketplace, providing complete application-centric views into storage utilization, providing deep integrations into our own product portfolio, and the ability to really kind of forecast and build a solution that you need today, but also fits your requirements moving forward. Is there anything you want to add to that, Inga?
Yes, very good point on our integrations, Nick. So I wanted to mention as well that for those of you who are familiar with our releases, we have just announced at our Discovery event, we just launched our new 9.7 version. It's available and shipping since July 15th, and it includes a new integration with OMI, Operations Manager. So as Nick said, this is very important, getting that one view for all of your event management, your configuration database management, your service management. So yeah, it's very powerful integrations with the rest of our BSM stack.
And so we're going to transition into actually use cases at this point, and Inga's going to take us through our, why people are buying. We talked about, why people are buying storage optimization solutions and why they're looking for tools like HP Storage Essentials. We're going to take you through a list of use cases, and so I'm going to let Inga take over from here.
Okay, next slide, please. And Nick, please jump in if you want to add something. So everybody has a very complex environment, like Nick was explaining earlier. Not all of you may want to use all of these use cases, and that's why also we differentiate in licensing, as you've seen on the previous slide. Some modules are just complementary, included with the enterprise software. Others are you're able to purchase as an add-on. Everybody will want to see the topology view. So with our data collection, when we discover switches, we check what's connected to the switches. We get the storage devices, we get the hosts, we go up to the host file system, then we go up to the database application, and we'll link all of that together, as you can see here. What you can do on top of just viewing the layout of your fabrics is you can right-click, you can highlight impact, as you can see on the screen here. So if you want to look at a particular fabric, there's ways of filtering to that fabric, but you can also just right-click and see the impact of a device that fails in your environment. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can, from here, double-click and show devices. So a lot of functionality is starting from that topology overview. Next slide, please. And what I want to add as well, so when we do deployments at customer sites, when we ask them about assets like firmware versions on switches, when we ask them what's connected where, how many servers they have in their environment, they often just don't know. So they want to use the product to have that whole data center view. So that topology is going to tell them what is connected where. With our product, we have the ability to discover agent and agentless. So agent is a lot of management, maintenance to keep them up to date with the latest operating system platforms, etc. So for Windows and Linux, we use the operating system open standards, and we can collect quite a bit of detailed information on our environment. For instance, if I present storage from, let's say, a 3-power array or an EMC array, an IBM array, through the switches up to the host, without an agent, I can see up to the volume level. So that LUN that is presented from the traditional storage array all the way up to the host, what is free, what is used, I can see all that capacity without having to put any agents on the server. If I want to go more in detail and I want to see what's on top of the file system, such as file extensions, file quota, database viewers, those are typical examples when I do require to have an agent installed. The agent is nothing more than an add-on to the open standard protocols. It will collect information and it will send it up to our central management server. This is an example that you can see here from our database viewer. We have a file system viewer, we have a NAS manager. All those show similar information at the host level, whether it goes into the application, into the file system, or into the NAS file share. Next slide, please. So as we have said and stressed out, we are really multi-vendor. That means whether you have an IBM array at the bottom, whether you have an HP array, can be EMC arrays. We have a very, very rich support matrix that will show you all the systems that we can discover. So you can go and follow your fabric all the way up to the top, to your ESX host if you want, and to all your virtual machines that are configured on top of that. So with a lot of detail, yes, Nick?
Oh, no, I was just going to jump in real quickly. I think one of the things that customers are telling us on a daily basis is, you know, we have a large percentage of our infrastructure that is virtual machines. And we have a significant portion of our Tier 1 storage on high-end Hitachi, EMC, and HP arrays. Can Storage Essentials do both? And the story we have is yes, because we can provide both agentless discovery, as you described, as well as agent-rich for the granular details of file structure if they want to get that. So flexibility, deployment, implementations, you know, they don't need multiple tools, and that's where we kind of talk about the challenges of having a single solution that can do everything.
Yes, and that's a very good point as well. So Nick, I wanted to add that when you talked earlier about saving costs in the environment. So I'm working with a customer that's deploying Storage Essentials to evaluate how much virtual storage they need to completely migrate an entire physical environment onto a virtual environment. So the customer has physical hosts connected to thick provisioned storage arrays, and they want to move that onto ESX thin provisioned hosts and thin provisioned storage, thin on thin provisioning. Now it's very important in that use case to manage your storage properly. And in case of an ESX host, you don't want to do that putting host agents on all the servers. We can get quite a lot of detail at the host level to monitor anything like space reclamation, how much space can you free up in case a virtual machine is deleted. But most of all, how do I plan my capacity management moving from that entire physical environment onto a complete virtual environment? How many arrays do I need to translate that physical capacity onto a virtual environment? Very important these days for customers to have an accurate view going all the way down from the storage, including the host storage level. Next slide, please. So as we said, the file system, the agentless host, also the application to spindle is a really big use case with a lot of customers these days. So from the application all the way down to the storage, you can see the path here. We map everything out across the redundant fabrics. If your host is a database and it sits on top of virtual machines, which is becoming a lot more common and a lot more challenging than a physical machine, it's very important to get that visibility into your storage configuration. Next slide, please. So Heterogeneous, as we said, we're not just monitoring our own HP storage, we'll monitor any other vendor. What we do is we will integrate with the proprietary tools from the vendor, or we will write our own tool. Usually we follow the SMIS standard, or today that would be a REST API interface, which allows us to collect data from a different vendor. So we try to unify and we try to simplify our UI so that it fits the model of all the different type of arrays. Whether that other vendor talks about a monolithic or a modular storage device, we'll model our UI so that it fits for all the different vendors. So typically what you'll see in the capacity manager is for the storage array, for the pools, if it's a NAS, you'll see the shares. If it's a host, you'll see the file systems, the mount points. So the capacity manager typically has a view where we set out free capacity, used capacity. If you look at the array level, you can see the over-allocation here. Very important if you go into a virtual thin provisioned environment. We over-allocate, we oversubscribe storage, so we present more than is physical available. It is very important that you track exactly what you have available in physical capacity so you can purchase new storage, new disks in time to not run out of capacity. Next slide, please. Our dashboard view for the capacity, again, is a top-level view. So often we have a mix of different people using our product, whether you are a storage architect, whether you are an operations person. Everybody wants to have their own view of looking at the storage environment. The dashboard is something that we added at the request of customers as well, where you have a high-level overview, first of all, of your entire data center, possibly more than one data center, global data centers, in terms of what is my total environment capacity. How many storage devices, how many hosts, and how many applications. So when you look at the number here, and your Oracle database administrator is telling you, I'm running out of capacity on my host that's connected to this device, you're going to try to find capacity that's available somewhere else and reallocate it to that specific database server. So a quick view on the storage, on the switches, and on the host. What is the total capacity, used, and free capacity? Next slide.
I want to jump in real quickly. You know, the beauty of the dashboard is that, you know, now we've eliminated a device manager for the arrays. We've eliminated device managers on the switches. We've eliminated device managers on the applications and the hosts. So really it becomes a one-stop, you know, we say pane of glass, but really a one-stop window to see entire infrastructure, what's happening at any given moment. And as, you know, as Inga has said, you can drill down into any element from a single view from the capacity dashboard and take you anywhere in your infrastructure that you'd like to see.
Thank you, Nick. Next slide, please. So when Nick says it can take you anywhere to any view that you want to see, feedback that we often get is how can we customize our dashboard so that it fits for that one person that wants to see mapped capacity instead of allocated capacity, for instance. We have a very powerful reporting tool. It's Business Objects SAP, which allows you to customize any of our standard shipping reports that are available with the product. We ship over 300 reports. If those are not sufficient for you, you can go in edit mode with the Report Optimizer user, and you can customize both layout as well as the queries in the report. You can sort on the report. You can change columns to pie charts, depending on the audience that will receive the report. The reports can be looked live on the server, but they can also be scheduled. They can be emailed. They can be downloaded onto a FTP site, etc. So very powerful reporting engine that allows you to customize and create your own views with export capabilities into the format that you want, into the destination that you want as well.
You know, one of the things I think that IT staff likes, as well as management, is that, you know, once the report's generated, it has its own unique URL. So it can be posted up on a SharePoint, and anytime someone wants to access that information, they just simply click on that link, and it'll get the most up-to-date refresh information. So you're not creating reports on a weekly or a monthly basis. You know, once it's generated, it's available and it can be distributed, as Inga said. So it's a very nice functionality innovation in the report package.
Thank you, Nick. Next slide. So path-aware performance management, another really big use case. The number one use case I would say for every one of you to monitor in your environment is capacity. Number two use case would for me be performance management. Performance management means I'm going to track my historical performance data in our Oracle database, and Unlike the device management tools where I'm going to sit behind the console and look at the real-time performance data, I'm going to monitor everything historically in time. Why is this important? It can help you to troubleshoot your environment. It can help you to stay up at the level of I/O and throughput that you're expecting your devices to perform. One example here, when I was at the customer, one of the fans on the EVA broke, and that caused the array to perform at half the speed, not to overheat it. So unless we would walk by the array and see the red light at the bottom, at the back of the device blinking to warn us that the fan had broken, or if we would log into Device Manager and look at the events there, we would not know that something is wrong with the device because it's still performing just at half the speed of what I'm expecting it to do. We logged that sequence of performance data in Storage Essentials, and we were able to pinpoint and root cause pretty quickly and avoid that the second fan would break and the array would go down. So with the performance data, not just available to look at what was the last hour, the last day of performance, what am I expecting, but also analyze the data that we're historically saving for you. Next slide. So as you can see here, the Performance Manager is pretty flexible. You can decide to put metrics, to plot metrics on top of each other and compare them for different controller ports. You can have one graph where you have an end-to-end view all the way down from your storage or up from your host all the way down to your storage here. So different ways of looking at the performance data, very flexible. Historically, last 7 days, last month, etc. Very nice tool to do analytics and reporting on. As Nick had mentioned as well, analytics and reporting is one of our 4 big use cases for the product. That's where we see the biggest need from customers, being able to interpret all that data center data in one single tool. Next slide.
Excuse me, Inga. We have several more questions that have come in. Could I read those out?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Sure. Thank you. We have one question. It's about compliance reports. Is it possible to run a report showing which of our Brocade switches require firmware upgrades?
Yes, excellent.
All must be
example.
on at least version 6.8, for example, 6.8.
Yes. Yep, excellent example for our report customization. So we do ship a lot of reports, as I said, more than 300. If for some reason that report that you want to see and that you need in an hour to report onto your management level, it's very quick to customize that report, and this is an excellent example. So from all the Brocade switches, I'm going to pick out all the firmware versions, and I'm going to put a filter, and in that filter, I'm going to set the version, the minimum version that I require, and the report is written in a couple of minutes, in a matter of minutes. So now I can email that on to the person who asked for it, and it's a very good example for compliance reporting.
Excellent. Okay, one more question. I noticed that HP announced new version of SE in July, just recently. Could we get an understanding of what is new, highlights of some of the new functionality, and anything since?
Yep, great question as well. So I briefly touched on it when we talked about our integration. So what is new for our 9.7 release, available since July 15th, that is our OMI integration. We have extended our platform in supported devices. For instance, we added support for our HP NAS devices, the Store Easy 3800 series. Also, the EMC VNX was requested a lot from customers. We added a performance pack on the VNX block. We added a lot of features. Our support metrics is really growing. It's becoming very, very big. Yes, anybody who's been waiting for functionality, we're finally shipping, and you're able to evaluate that. Just let us know, contact us, and we'll work with you to look at it.
Super. Thank you, Inga.
Sure. Thank you, Bill. So another example here for the heterogeneous performance. So again, we simplify the UI to fit all the different vendors. So if the vendor allows us to collect certain metrics, then we'll plot those out on the graphs. If we don't have support for in-depth performance metrics for a device, will get the numbers through the switchboards. So in any case, you'll always see numbers from the host down to the storage, whether they come from the real storage device or they come through the switchboards here. And some examples that you can see on the screen here, all of a sudden our performance, our queue depth is going really active, really busy. So that's warning us that something is about to happen in the environment. What the product allows you to do as well is with the capacity and performance data, you can do historic analysis, but you can also do trending and forecasting into the future. If I continue to grow my storage at this rate, then at which point in time am I going to grow out of capacity? If I see my performance data here over a historical amount of time, how do I analyze that data to make sure I'm getting really what I'm expecting out of my devices? Next slide. Application to array performance metrics. So you can see the file system viewer here. So again, when you have that agent on top of the file system, we go very detailed into the file system, monitor all your file extensions, your drives, your mount points, etc. Also from the dashboard view, you can really click and drill down and get the views that give you that high-level overview on the top-end systems with the largest file system, with the biggest amount of specific file extensions, etc.
Yeah, you know what? On top of that,
excuse me, I had another question. We had a question
Bill?
coming in specifically on the performance charts that are on the screen now.
Sure.
What is on those performance charts?
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, could you explain what is on the performance charts on the screen currently, please? It's one of the customers, one of the attendees.
Yep, so let me just...
It may have been the previous chart, maybe it had been the previous slide, Inge.
Yes, I think so. So I'm actually, I'm going to take your name and get back to you in email because this specific performance window is not very clear, so the resolution is not too clear on the screen, but let me just take your email and get back to you. So if we can go back, if we can quickly go back to the previous screen, then I can comment on that, and if not, so, yep. So you can, what the intent of these views is kind of to map out different control reports, so you can see % read, % write, there's a queue depth. So somebody is suspecting issues at the controller level, and they're putting all the metrics out against each other, comparing them. So let's say you have an array that has 8 ports, 8 controller ports. You suspect that there's an issue with multipathing. You're going to put all the ports next to each other and see if they're all performing as they're supposed to. I can see right away from that bottom middle panel that there are at least 2 ports that are not having a lot of I/O here. So I'm suspecting a configuration issue. Either it could be a hardware fault or it could be a configuration issue with the multipathing that explains why those ports are not getting I/O. % read, % write is just null here. So anything else, we can follow up with you in email. Just contact us and we can have a more detailed discussion about it.
Yeah, he replied that he got the answer he was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. Can we move 2 slides? Yep. Next slide, please. Or Nick, did you have a comment? Nope, I think Nick was wanting to say something as well. So path-aware dependencies, I think we can skip this slide, so we've covered that already at the beginning as well.
Yeah, you know what I was going to say, Ingo, is that on that previous slide with the charts was that one of our biggest use cases is customers saying, I'd like to find out where storage hasn't been accessed in 12 months or 18 months or even 9 months, and then in that report find out the files by attribute, whether it's an executable file or a JPEG file or a TIFF file. So the value of file system management and storage essentials is that we can actually go in and provide customers with that view of, maybe files that haven't been accessed in a period of time. But what that does is it allows them to free up storage in most cases and often reclaim significant amounts of storage. I think one of the the stat that I saw recently was that we're reclaiming as much as 22 to 25% everywhere we show storage essentials. So that's a significant cost savings and investment savings and resources.
Yeah, very true. And something we haven't discussed yet is our options to include Chargeback Manager on that. So when I was talking with the customer Discover, they told us they're using all the information available in the database to convince their people what the cost is of keeping older storage devices in production while they've already migrated to new devices. So their operational staff is uncertain whether if the migration goes well, they might have to restore from the old device. So they use all the information, and that is CPU power, that is licenses for the software, that is power to keep the array running. So they use all of that data to present a cost to their own staff so that they can convince them to move quicker into production. So 6 months having your old devices lying around just for the sake of maybe having to restore a file is very expensive. Next slide, please. And next slide, yes. So unlimited reporting, as I had mentioned, 300 reports are shipping with the product. Our customization SAP Business Objects is very, very powerful. So once you are familiar with the tricks and tips, it's very easy to change the layout of the report, to have a very fancy view, to combine values out of the database. So we really see Storage Essentials as a data collection engine from your entire data center. The powerful end result is the reporting interface on top of that. The reporting interface can take instances of the data collection database from various sites globally. There's no restriction on distance as long as the latency is acceptable, and it can report on that combined complete global view, which is what a lot of customers today need. They lack that visibility to have a single tool that reports on that global scale. Next slide, please. Aggregation, sharing, and distribution, another example here. So global storage capacity, how much do I have on what type of array, how do I control my virtualization growth and avoid that I run out of capacity at a given point in time. And next slide. Nick, do you want to talk about this one as a conclusion? Nick, are you there? So let me just quickly make one comment here. I had briefly touched on big data. Big data is not just a marketing hype anymore. It's a reality today. Data is growing really fast and really huge at the storage level as well as at the file system level. An example, when I was at a customer back in March to deploy our product, the customer had no visibility with any tools into their storage growth. It was a retail company, and in December, the biggest and most busy time of the year, the customer ran out of capacity on 3 big monolithic arrays because they used thin-on-thin provisioning. And they over-allocated up to 500% of storage, which meant that with the growth rate of their storage environment, within a matter of 6 months, they had run out of capacity on 3 big arrays in the busiest time of the year for a retail provider. So very important capacity management. Keep an eye on your storage growth.
Good point, Inga. Thank you. You know, the 3 tenets that I want everybody to take away from their presentation today and the discussion is, you know, HP has a tool that can help them visualize all their assets. You know, discovery of multi-vendor, multi-platform, multi-protocol, and the ability to actually proactively plan and invest their strategies for the future. Next slide. The second piece being the ability to really isolate infrastructure. Oh, what happened? The second piece of that, you know, the thing I wanted everybody to take away is that, you know, the solution that we provide at HP and HP Storage Essentials is the ability to isolate elements in the infrastructure. You know, Inga talked about application of path awareness, application of path dependency, the ability to integrate and share information across the HP software portfolio from event management to configuration management to automating tasks, and the ability to automate and isolate, creates efficiencies, creates cost savings, creates opportunities to reduce costs of operations, reduces troubleshooting times. So really, the second biggest tenet. Next slide. And the last piece of the pie for what I want you to take away is the ability to predict how much storage you're utilizing today, how much can be reclaimed, whether through better storage management or efficient storage management, the ability to set policies on how storage is used by consumers, by customers, by groups, the ability to centralize not only policy but reporting and the ability to distribute those reports out. So the ability to predict takes on a whole new paradigm of the ability to actually plan investments, whether it's globally, whether it's locally, or whether it's a specific data center. So Storage Essentials provides value in multiple different ways. Next slide, please. And Inge talked about several of the benefits of Storage Essentials: the modular architecture, the ability to see application to array, everything happening between those, how you can troubleshoot different events and elements in the environment, the ability to drill down into file structure. Storage Essentials is a very strong tool, and it's modular in the sense that we make flexibility of implementation, flexibility of deployments very easy with an agentless architecture, as well as an agent-rich architecture for customers who want to see performance at the application or database level or the I/O level. So there's significant benefits involved in the storage and the building the solution. And we talked about the latest investment that HP has made into the product, the latest release. There's significant enhancements for not only HP storage products, but the advancements in our third-party support. And as Inge had mentioned, the support matrix for this product is wide and huge. And whether you're looking for a specific vendor or you yourselves have a heterogeneous storage environment, when it comes to unlocking the value of storage optimization, I think we have the answer here in Storage Essentials. And I think I'll turn that back over to you, Bill.
Okay, thank you very much, Lee and Inge. We do have some questions in the last several minutes. I'd like to pose those now. First one, are there NFR licenses for demoing purposes? Are there NFR licenses available for demoing purposes?
So yes, typically we have an evaluation license that is valid for 30 days, for 60 days. It can be extended. If you're interested to look at the product in your own environment, we can remote or on-site set up a proof of concept. Just contact Nick or myself or Dan, who unfortunately wasn't able to make the call today, but contact us. Our email is on the screen right now, and we'll make sure that we set up some time to look at the product in your environment.
Great question.
Excellent, thank you. Can you give an example of SE working at scale?
So it's highly scalable. We have roles and we have recommendations and best practices, how much to scale within one single SE data collection instance. But we typically have reference customers like Johnson & Johnson that are managing Storage Essentials at the global level. They have 3 servers that are located at the U.S. for the central U.S. sites, and they also added the remote sites in EMEA, in Asia Pacific, and Latin America. So yes, it's a matter of looking at the database capabilities of what we have available today. It's an Oracle relational database, so there certainly are limits. There are ways to monitor a global environment using that consolidated global reporting.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. All right, everyone. Again, thank you for participating. We've got several more slides to go over some detailed essential resources as far as where you can get more information. Next slide is we're showing 2 conferences coming up. Big Data Conference next month in Boston. I'd like you to consider, take a look at, and register for. And then a security conference in Washington, D.C. In September. So I'd like you to take a look at those. Be quite interesting sessions there. Next slide, please. And if you want additional information, there's many sources that are available, IT experts community for the forums, blogs, etc. And we have upcoming online expert days also available for your use in months ahead. Okay? Next slide, please. I thank you very much for participating, for joining us in the session today. We'd like a feedback from you, so we ask that you complete the short survey at the end of our session and opt in for more information from HP. All right? Thank you all again very much. Have a great day.